This technique that I'm about to show you will help unlock your weighted dip strength. It helped get my first 200-pound weighted dip for 3 reps without breaking form. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you what you need to do to help improve your weighted dip in just 3 easy steps. Okay, so my folks who don't do weighted dips yet, don't feel left out, because in fact, I noticed that this simple yet crucial technique to your dips, whether it's weighted or even body weight, will help improve your overall performance. But more importantly, it's gonna best set you up whenever you do start doing your weighted dips. So before we get into the technique that will advance your weighted dip strength, let's get a quick understanding of the fundamentals for performing our weighted dip, which is full range of motion, correct body positioning, and muscle activation. According to the International Street Lifting Federation, a complete range of motion on the dips is when the, and I quote, body should go down to the level where the line of the humerus will be parallel to the bars or below the angle of 90 degrees. And as you can clearly see, the humerus is the bone where our shoulders are located. Like I've always said, it's best to shoot for your front delt to be either at or slightly past 90 degrees to get the most engagement in your chest without putting any joints at risk. So this is an even more clearer ruling, and I completely agree with it, but that's not all. Then is actually having the correct body positioning. Going back to that same article, when you position your body on the dip bars, the athlete must hold himself in a hanging position, leaning on the handles of the parallel bars, arms straight at the elbows. The body is in a vertical position, but here's the most important part of that. Shoulders are lowered and drawn back. For example, sinking in the shoulders is completely prohibited within the ISF, and the legs must be straight. And looking at it now, I've never actually read this article before, even knew the specific regulations and rules towards, street lifting and your weighted dip form, etc. But I've always been practicing these technical form cues because it just makes my dip and just body feel a lot more efficient when performing the actual movement. So it's kind of crazy how everything kind of all aligns together without me even having to look into the details of the rules and regulations to doing the weighted dip. And then finally, it's engaging the right muscles. Now, I didn't find anything in this article regarding what muscles to activate, what mental cues to kind of take note of, which is, it's all right. I'm not going to find everything, right? But here's what I'm going to be showing you, what you need to be doing within the mind and muscle connection, because I can almost guarantee that every weighted calisthenics or calisthenic athlete does this themselves. So first, they make sure that they tighten their core when at the top position of the dip or pressing back up from the bottom portion of the dip. Then they are actively engaging their chest for a tight and stable body position. And of course, engaging the lower body, specifically their quads and glutes, to help reinforce the principle of stabilizing the entire body to move in unison. That said, those are the basic fundamentals when it comes to actually performing the dip correctly and efficiently. So if you're doing this, then you're definitely on the right track. It took me almost 4 whole years to realize this crucial technique adjustment, which basically just took my weighted dip to a whole new level. And not only from a strength perspective, but just how comfortable I feel. And I think that's super important, especially when you're in this weighted calisthenics game for the long run. So listen closely. The first one being really focusing on engaging in scapular depression from the moment you get into the dip position to when you're pressing back up. Now, this was briefly mentioned, but I believe that there's a difference between having the correct body position and having an intent to engage certain muscles to maintain that body position, which stems from the depression of your scapula. The reason why this is so important is because our scapula plays an important factor into achieving efficient SHR, aka shoulder function. One being it allows a congruent ball and socket arrangement through the full ranges of arm motion by keeping the alignment of the humerus and glenoid within physiological limits, which essentially maximizes the compression capability of the joint. Number 2, it creates a stable base for optimal activation of the scapular base muscles. Number 3, it allows for optimal force transfer from the site of the largest force development, aka the core, to the most common force delivery site, which is your hand, as part of the kinetic chain of all integrated dynamic body activities. And that's just to name a few, and I'll have this source listed in the description of the video because, I definitely found some deep scientific research onto this particular topic, and it makes a whole lot of sense, coming from a bro science perspective, coming from an actual science perspective. I'm seeing the similarities, so I had to put y'all on game. But having said all that, I've still implemented and practiced this philosophy of having the correct body positioning, maintaining that right scapular depression and just focusing on engaging the right muscles throughout the entire range of motion of the dip, which pretty much will help improve your overall performance, which to me just is very interesting and made things a lot more clear. So I just had to put y'all on game. So hopefully y'all kind of got the gist of what was said. Making sure that we start the dip position with scapular depression, really focus on pressing downwards on the bar with shoulders and hands to kind of help visualize that scapular engagement. Now, it's okay if you start losing that scapular depression to that same degree when you started, as you're coming down to that bottom portion of the dip, and then once you start going back up. But I will say this, make sure that you reinitiate the depression once you get to a point of pressing back up, and especially once you're back up at the top position of the dip. This is just going to improve the overall quality of the rep and help you generate the most amount of force for you to start doing not only more repetitions, cleaner form, but just heavier loads. If we do that, then that's definitely the first step towards improving your weighted dip journey. Coming up next is making sure that we have the correct foot positioning. Now, y'all didn't hear me wrong. Yes, we need to have correct leg engagement and core engagement, but I'm being more specific to the placement, or better yet, the positioning of our foot. That said, we want to actively engage in dorsiflexion, process of actively flexing our foot upwards. Now, this may be a unique way of going about the weighted dip, but I personally noticed that I feel more secure and in position, especially when there's like more than 3 plates loaded on the belt, that I can control the plates from swinging and maintain a straight lower body position when I engage in dorsiflexion. I don't know if you can relate, but when the plate starts swinging and you're continuously trying to position your feet to a point where you don't get any swing, it can be very draining, and any discrepancies can easily ruin your overall performance and focus during your set. But hey, what do I know? If you want to see more content like this, be sure to follow me, man. I'm the Tough Fitness Guy out here, no cap.
Cobra Trains, he's up next. Make sure y'all subscribe to him. He's #1 out here.
He's the toughest fitness guy out here.